Loki, who also wields a warhammer similar to the shipwright giants called Ragnir, which can literally shape the atom tree. Using Loki's skills and Frankie's knowledge of the blueprints, they can literally fix up the ancient weapon and use it as an asset for the final war on the Straw Hat side. Furthermore, what if the secret to Loki's eyes is actually Pluton? Giants age at a different scale. Loki is 63 human years old, which is around 20 for giants. And that is in line with Luffy's age of 19 currently. Loki was the first prophesized to be born in this new era, while Shirahoshi as Poseidon can control the Sea Kings and represents the oceans. Uranus reigns over the skies, and Pluton represents the earth and land. That's why Loki's eyes and unchecked emotions caused famine and natural disasters for Elbaf. That's why Loki is so close to the beasts of the underworld, just like how Shirahoshi is close with the sea creatures. They are literally his best friends. It all comes together when we also look at who the hell is going to drive Pluton, because it's a ship or a vehicle, right? And that person is going to be the one with those cursed snake-like eyes, burrowing and slithering through the lands like a great serpent bathed in blood. That is one of Loki's roles in the final war. And the great serpent bathed in blood, literally the red line, the biggest mass of earth in the entire One Piece world. He is the driver of Pluton. As Loki's future looks in the final war though, his past gets even worse. Estrid's brother was just as bad as her. Bro was feeding Loki food literally from the dumpster. Like, this is like Arby's food, bro. Literal child abuse, okay? Then at the age of 15, Loki crashed out. He had enough. He rallied the beast from the underworld to his side, likely using his Pluton eyes. Loki told them to beat up the giants. Elbaf doesn't need weaklings. He unleashed chaos onto Elbaf and laughed at the weak that ran. Then his brother Haruden challenged him for destroying their father's hard work. But Loki doesn't understand why everyone respects Harold. No one has ever been nice to Loki, so he finds the idea of cooperation dumb. The abuse he suffered from Estrid, her brother, the rest of Elbaf has caused him to pour in that hate onto others, calling humans insects. He just wants to rage out on them. Haruden, who did have a caring mother, explains that they should try to see matters from others' perspectives. Loki shouldn't get cocky just because he's bigger than others. But Loki spews the same words his father once spoke, justifying his carnage. Being cocky is his right because he is the prince, as he slapped up Haruden. Loki spread pain, destruction, but nothing he did filled the hole in his heart. Even though he showed his strength, Haruden's friends rushed to help him. Loki was still alone. They still rejected him. Then Loki broke down completely upon seeing a mother hug her child, something he never experienced before, even though he reached out his arms pleading upon his birth. At that moment, he realized there was no place for him. Everything was futile, so he jumped. Yet falling to the underworld didn't kill him. Even death rejected Loki. However, at that moment, a whole-ass mountain gets chopped in half, shocking Loki into discovering the strongest pirate in One Piece. As Loki tells the Rock's crew that they are indeed on the island of the giants, but his father isn't around. Harold is way too busy forging alliances around the world to legitimize the nation of Elbaf. However, Rox has a plan to meet Harold. He tells Loki to run up to the Sun World and tell the higher-ups of Elbaf to send word that he has just been hurt. To which Loki is like, you really think my deadbeat father would drop everything and show up for me? This makes sense, as throughout his entire childhood, Loki has been mentally abused and completely alone. First by his own mother Estrid, and now by her brother. While his father did love him when he came back to Elbaf 8 years ago, it was very brief and Loki was way too young to likely remember. Plus, you really think some puny-ass human named Loki Xebec and a goofball with a name like Edward Newgate could hurt the Prince of Elbaf, Loki? Yeah, Loki got one shot after saying that. Then this dude Xebec started laughing his ass off for beating up a child. The moment truly highlights the personality of Rox though. Although he beat up Loki, it was for a purpose of summoning Harold back. We know that 8 years ago during the Reverie, Harold and Rox met. So within that meeting, Xebec had already analyzed the King of Elbaf's nature. That if he heard about his son getting hurt, he would drop everything planning to come back. As soon as Harold heard about his son getting hurt, he came running back. It's just as my goat, Monkey Deadbeat Dragon, said, a parent's greatest weakness is their child. Bro, this dude Loki is actually like hard. Look at that panel. He is in bed recovering. That's a child. When Rock said, I'm gonna hurt you, I expected like a little like scrape, you know, he just bruised the kid a little, but he's like bedridden. He can't leave the bed. That's a child. He actually beat him up. Yet still, Loki's physical pains doesn't even compare to his mental scarring. Bro thinks his father coming back was just coincidence and not for him. Instead of hyping up Rock's and his feats against the government though, Harold is like, the fuck is a criminal like you doing here in my country? To which Xebec just says, join my crew, Harold. The world government won't even hear you out. However, Harold ignores Rock's once again. He says that Elbaf would be anchored down with a thug like Rock's. He would lose all the goodwill he has built up with the humans throughout the decades if he teamed up with a pirate like Rock's. Xebec though, he fires back, calling all of those kings government lackeys. Rock's isn't naive like Harold. He knows it's impossible for the giants to be accepted by Emu, likely because he knows some great history from the Void Century that Harold doesn't. If Harold and Elbaf join Rox's cause, they likely would have won against Emu and the government decades before Luffy was even born. This plan 48 years ago consisted of the Rock's pirates taking over Hachinosuke. The island countries all over the world send their worst inmates into exile. It was a barren land until just last year when a gold deposit was discovered. However, due to the strength of the criminals, it's tough for even the government to get close to the resources, so Rox made a deal with them to get paid for taking the island back. But the real plan is to first get paid by the government and instead take over the island for themselves, turning it into a pirate paradise, just like in the times of Davy Jones. This parallels Blackbeard making a deal with the government regarding Ace's capture and becoming a warlord, using the chaos to go to level 6 Impel Down and freeing the worst criminals of the world to fight alongside him, like father, like son. But it's deeper than that, as Rox says that this is just the prologue to his life. Using that island, he will crush the navy and bring Marie Joie crashing down. That's how he will become the king of the world. The word prologue is further evidence that Rox might not be dead. His plan is still in full swing, as Blackbeard, who has inherited a part of Rox, is bringing the plan back to fruition. If you want to learn more, watch the Rox D. Xebec entire life video. Yet even after hearing this plan, Harold isn't convinced. He says that Rox's enemies are way too big, as he is picking a fight with the whole planet. But Rox has a legendary comeback. There is no such thing as power that lasts forever. Harold joins Rox, they will be unstoppable. It might have not convinced Harold, but these words of Rox were salvation for Loki, just like Luffy was inspired by Shang. Loki's salvation was Rox. He found a reason to keep on living. 4 years would pass of Rox begging Harold to join him, but each invitation declined. And then Xebec finally took over Full-Elite Island. The Rox pirates had become a different caliber of beast in the world. Man, One Piece is too good right now. Guys, go buy some Naruto posters. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.